Get fucking clipped, dude. Oh my god! That's from his skull! Oh my god, they don't care. They don't give a fuck. Howdy boys, it's MVC, and today we are back in GTA Online and we are going to go over my top 5 best customizations I've ever made in GTA Online part 2, because you guys really seem to enjoy the first one. And I have many more beautiful cars to share. So we are standing in front of Michael's house right now because the first car that I'm going to be showcasing is the Obey Tailgater. In case you guys forgot what that car looks like, this is its base model. And then after you add on all of the customizations and stuff that I did, it's gonna look like this. Stunning, right? So on this build of the Obey Tailgater, I'm rocking a dew yellow with an ice white pearlescent. Super glossy. I love the ice white pearlescent on pretty much any vehicle with any color because it makes it look like it's got a donut glaze on top of it. For the secondary color, I don't think there are any secondary options on my vehicles, so it doesn't really matter what it is. But for the trim color, which is the interior, it is also dew yellow to match. For the front splitter and skirts, I decided to go with primary options so that I could kind of outline the car a little bit more, as well as the rear diffuser has a primary color trimming as well. Of course, we had to go with the titanium exhaust because there's really no other way on this vehicle, honestly. And then for the spoiler, I went with a more low-key carbon option. It's not the most low-key on this vehicle because I know you can get some pretty small ones that are actually really nice for racing since they don't clip on anything, but I thought the carbon detailing looked nice since there's so many carbon accents all over the vehicle. And to match that, I went with a carbon roof. I love the way the roof is kind of ingrained into the shape of the rear window. It looks really, really nice. And I think Rockstar overall did a fantastic job on giving this car customization that all works well together, because sometimes they give vehicles options that don't make any sense, like they'll have black, carbon, and forged options for some parts, not some of the other parts, but I think they did a really good job with the Tailgater. And lastly, my rims are black Hyperfreshes, in case any of you guys are wondering. I think what makes me especially proud of this vehicle is that I was able to utilize dew yellow and make it look really good. Not many great looking Obey Tailgaters in GTA Online, if I'm gonna be completely honest with you. The car is definitely built to be more of like a race car, which aren't always the prettiest. So I tried to go for a more street build, and I think it turned out absolutely fantastic. But the main things I like are just that I was able to pull off the dew yellow really well, and that there's a lot of color coordination going on, and it just turned out super sexy looking. Up next is the classy Figaro ZX, which as you can tell has a super sleek Dark Knight sort of build. I don't know if that's cringe to say, but that's honestly what it's giving, because it's not completely black. The car is in a graphite, and I don't think I touched the pearlescent, so it should be some type of silver. And then I went for as many secondary trimmings as I could, that being the front bumper, side skirts, louvers, and spoiler, and those are all in a matte black because I think matte black makes for an excellent secondary color, even with a metallic primary, because I think it's nice that the texture gets changed up a little bit, especially on the accented features. It just gives the car like another layer. Oh my god. For the exhaust, I went with the black hexagon exhaust because I thought that fit the dark theme. And then my rims are blacked out Hype 5s because I think muscle cars look really good in 5-spoked rims. And I like that these kind of dip more inwards to the car, since it's, I would say the Vigero is a pretty curvy vehicle. It's definitely not as curvy as some other vehicles like the Figaro GT, for example, but compared to other muscle cars like the Bravado Gauntlet Classic is the first thing that came to mind. That one's literally just a fucking rectangle. This one's got some more curvy edges, and I thought that this rim choice matched it really nicely because it kind of enhanced that effect. This customization was my build in the Figaro ZX customization battle that I did with Harman and Twingo. And unfortunately, it wasn't the first place vehicle. We lost by 3 votes, which was really tragic, but that's okay. And anyone who has a good eye for customization could obviously tell that I won. No offense, you know, because we lost to the cranberry juice spilled car. If you guys want to check that out, there was a lot of roasting going on in that one. So I'll link it down in the description. But the reason I'm especially proud of this build is because I never really go for all black builds. I usually like to incorporate color in some sort of highlights because I think it just looks really good in GTA. They have a lot of good options for accenting and whatnot. But I think I did a really good job with the graphite and all of the dark features, so That's why it made the number 4 spot. Our number 3 spot goes to the Pegasi Ignis in a monochrome style build. The Ignis is a hyper aggressive looking vehicle. It's so incredibly menacing that I didn't want to touch it for a long time because I was scared I was going to do the car dirty. But I'm incredibly happy with the way this thing turned out. I've got it in an ice white primary color with an ice white pearlescent as well. The secondary color is a matte black, and I tried to go with as many secondary features as I could, that being the front bumper, the louvers, and the spoiler. Again, similar to the Figaro ZX, I think that matte black is just a fantastic looking secondary color. It changes up some of the textures, makes them stand out a little more, and overall gives the vehicle a lot more definition. And in addition, because the vehicle is black and white, I chose this livery, which throws on some black and white stripes. From the front end, you actually can't really tell. It just looks like it's thin black stripes, kind of like music note bars. I don't remember exactly what those are called. Sorry to any music fanatics out there. And it just gives the illusion that it's really sleek and minimalistic, when in reality, they're actually bulky white lines bordered by black. As you can see on the spoiler, it gets revealed a little bit what the true design of the livery is supposed to be, but I kind of masked that by having the primary color be white. But that minor detail is hardly noticeable. I just wanted to add as many black and white accented features on the car as possible because it's got a ton. You know, I think it's ingrained super well. All of the lines outstretching themselves like tree roots onto the vehicle looks really good. For the rims, I've got blacked out Superluxes, since that is a pretty Lamborghini style rim anyway, and I like that they were kind of expansive, outstretched rims that want to take up space. And lastly, I went with this spoiler, which is it's got a lot of holes. I think the Ignis, which is supposed to be based off of the brand new Countach in real life, is a peek into the future for Lamborghini, and I wanted to go with a more futuristic looking spoiler, and I thought this one looks far from normal, so that's why I went with this option. And it also just outlines itself on the body of the vehicle really well, so I thought it fit nicely into the build. This is a build that's available to PC players if you guys were looking to mimic this. I myself am a PC player and I don't have access to any of the HSW stuff, so that means no HSW customization. I don't really know if it's good or bad. I've seen some interesting builds, to say the least. So for you console players, there's no excuse now to see any ugly HSW Ignises. I think this Ignis has the most depth of any Ignis that I've seen before, because usually they're just kind of like rainbow or like thrown up on since there's HSW upgrades. But this one is not weaponized. I don't have access to the HSW ones. I just wanted to make a sick supercar. And our number 2 spot goes to my OG Sultan RS. I made this thing probably 7 years ago at this point, and I've not once wanted to change it. I've never thought about selling it. I've got it in this nice blue with a surf blue pearlescent, which should be the default one if I'm not mistaken. And then for some of the other customization I added bolt-on fenders, since this vehicle is fairly thin for its base model. You can definitely wide body it a lot more, but I don't think it looks nearly as good. It gets a little too bulky in the back end and doesn't smooth itself out as well. So I think in attempting to make this into a street build, the bolts aren't too out of place. It's a little rougher looking of a vehicle with all the carbon accenting everywhere, that being the spoiler, the rear diffuser, the skirts, the front splitter, the window trimming as well. I pretty much tried to add carbon wherever I could. I think carbon is a great accent, and I'm glad it was really consistent with this vehicle. For the front splitter, I wanted to go with this option, despite it looking a little bearded, if you want to call it that, because it's kind of got like that two-prong sort of look to it, and I just think it looks really nice. I think it gives the vehicle so much more shape than it would otherwise normally have. And then I know that the wing is a little bit big, but I think it suits the sort of street build style Sultan that I was going for. And on top of that, I'm typically not a big fan of chrome rims on vehicles, but I think Benny's spindles, which is the name of this one, look absolutely stunning. I think these are probably some of the best looking rims in the game. I really wish they were an option to vehicles outside of the Benny's workshop, but oh well. For our trim color, we have an ice white, as you can tell by the color of the seats. We've exposed the grille. It was partially minimalistic and partially aggressive looking, I guess you could say. And then the very last aggressive addition onto this vehicle is the headlight covers that narrow them down a little bit and make it look a lot more aggressive menacing. It's like a more mature vehicle. It's seen some shit, you know. It's gone through a few street races. And I really like the look of that on the Sultan. So that's why it makes number 2. The number 1 spot on our list goes to the Obey Omni EGT, which I don't think is a very attractive vehicle by default. Without trying to sound rude, I'm sorry if I'm offending anyone here, but it looks like it works at a tech company. Like if this vehicle were human, it's got no jawline. It just seems all like geeky looking, and with this customization, I think it definitely glowed up. I'm glad that it has so much potential, but just the base model, I think especially the back end just makes it seem so like, it just seems like a pushover. Not saying that tech company workers are pushovers. I'm just trying to roast the vehicle, okay? Please take it as just that. But I just think that the way the back end is rounded, it just seems really awkward on the vehicle. And so to negate that, I added canards, which I'm typically not a big fan of on vehicles, but I threw it on and they're sort of like, it's like how dudes will essentially grow out beards sometimes to like sharpen their jawline if they have a little more neck fat. And then after I made that decision, I was like, alright, we might as well just go aggressive with the entire build. So I picked the most aggressive options for the splitter and the diffuser. And those are both supposed to be in the secondary color, even though they both have carbon pieces on them. I went with the carbon skirts as well to match that. And then for the spoiler, I picked, I believe this is the 3rd most aggressive option. I don't remember the name of it, but it is also in carbon to match the rest of that detailing. For the primary color in this vehicle, we have a candy red, and then the secondary color is a metallic black, as you can see by especially the roof and the hood. I'm typically not a big fan of changing my hoods. I think it's just not like the greatest detail in the world. If a car can integrate it really well though, then I think it is worth using because it just adds like more uniqueness to the vehicle, more personality. And I think that this hood, even though it's bigger than some of the other really good looking options like on the Thrax for example, I think it's still ingrained into the vehicle really well. I like that the primary color is able to kind of reach in and insert itself into the hood and give it a little more depth. For the livery, we've got the geometric camo because I just loved how much random detailing it added onto the vehicle and just still made it look so good. And for the rims, we're rocking blacked out Dinka SPLs under the track category. I've never thought that these rims looked good, and I've never been able to make them work with any vehicle, but I think the EGT is just so unique in its shape and style that I thought it worked really well. And then the very last option, which I do think is quite important, is this front section here. There's like a mask essentially that you can put around along like the headlights and kind of going more towards the splitter. But for that section, I did decide to make it a secondary color with the metallic black because I thought it made the vehicle look like Robin, like Batman's sidekick Robin. Maybe a little more like the Teen Titans vibe, if any of you guys have ever watched that when he gets all like edgy and stuff. I think that the front section kind of looks like Robin's mask with all of like the jagged odd shapes. It almost looks like it's kind of got anti-hero vibes, and I feel like that's sort of the role that Robin played a little bit, doing bad things for good reasons, you know. But that's gonna wrap it up for my top 5 best customizations that I've ever made in GTA Online Part 2. Drop a like if you guys enjoyed the video, comment down below and let me know what your favorite build from this showcase was, and what you thought about my builds, because I'm quite proud of all of them, but maybe not everyone agrees. Sub to the channel if you guys are new. If this video gets enough love, maybe we'll see a part 3. I've already got some ideas for that. But that's all I've got for you guys today. Take care, and I'll catch you boys in the next one. Peace!